The transatlantic slave trade, which lasted from the mid-15th century to the late 19th century, was one of the largest forced human migrations in history, profoundly affecting Africa, Europe, and the Americas. It began when Portuguese explorers reached the West African coast in the 1440s and established trade links with African kingdoms such as the Kingdom of Congo, Dahomey, Ashanti, and Oyo, initially exchanging goods like gold, ivory, and spices. As European colonies in the Americas developed plantation economies in the 16th and 17th centuries, the demand for labor increased sharply, particularly for sugar, tobacco, cotton, and later coffee cultivation. Indigenous populations had drastically declined due to diseases introduced by Europeans and harsh conditions under colonial rule, creating a shortage of labor that Europeans attempted to fill with enslaved Africans. African rulers and traders often participated in the trade by capturing prisoners of war and rivals from neighboring communities, exchanging them for European goods such as firearms, textiles, alcohol, and metal tools. Over the course of the trade, an estimated 12 to 12.8 million Africans were shipped across the Atlantic, though millions more died during capture or in local holding pens before transport, and mortality during the voyage, known as the Middle Passage, ranged from 15 to 25%. The Middle Passage was notorious for its brutality, as enslaved Africans were crammed into the holds of ships with as little as 1.5 to 2 feet of space per person, suffering from malnutrition, disease, dehydration, and physical abuse. Families were separated, and cultural identities were stripped to prevent rebellion, while chains and branding further dehumanized captives. Survivors were sold at auctions in the Americas and forced to labor under harsh conditions on plantations and in mines. Life for enslaved Africans was grueling. They worked long hours in the fields with minimal rest, were subjected to corporal punishment, and often lived in overcrowded, unsanitary housing. Despite these oppressive conditions, Africans retained elements of their culture through music, religion, storytelling, and culinary traditions, and they resisted whenever possible through revolts, escape, or the formation of maroon communities in remote areas. Notable uprisings included the Amistad Revolt of 1839 and the Haitian Revolution of 1791–1804, the latter of which successfully abolished slavery in Haiti and inspired other enslaved populations. European involvement in the trade was extensive, with Portugal and Spain leading early on, followed by Britain, France, the Netherlands, and Denmark. The trade operated through the triangular trade system, in which European goods were sent to Africa, enslaved Africans were shipped to the Americas, and plantation products were transported back to Europe. This system enriched European economies and helped fund the Industrial Revolution, while African societies experienced depopulation, the loss of productive members, increased warfare, and social destabilization. By the late 18th and early 19th centuries, moral, economic, and political opposition to the trade had grown. Abolitionist movements in Britain, led by figures such as William Wilberforce, as well as campaigns by former slaves like Olaudah Equiano and Frederick Douglass, brought attention to the cruelty of the trade. Britain passed the Slave Trade Act in 1807, the United States followed in 1808, and gradual abolition occurred across British colonies in 1833, with the United States formally abolishing slavery in 1865 through the 13th Amendment, and Brazil becoming the last country in the Americas to do so in 1888. The effects of the transatlantic slave trade were enormous and long-lasting. In Africa, it caused the depopulation of entire regions, economic disruption, and social instability, as rival states competed in warfare to capture people for sale. In the Americas, it led to the creation of racially stratified societies, entrenched systems of oppression, and the development of plantation economies reliant on forced labor. African culture survived and influenced religion, music, food, and language in the Americas, contributing to the rich cultural diversity of the Caribbean, South America, and North America. Europe benefited economically, but at an incalculable human cost. The legacy of the trade continues today in systemic racial inequalities, economic disparities, and the enduring African diaspora. Studying this history is essential for understanding the profound human, cultural, and economic consequences of the transatlantic slave trade, and recognizing the resilience and contributions of Africans and their descendants throughout the Americas and beyond. The trade stands as a stark reminder of human cruelty and exploitation, but also of resistance, survival, and the enduring struggle for justice and equality across centuries.